Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Crafty Little Rat Podcast. My name's Hannah, I'm Crafty Little Rat on Instagram and Ravelry, and I've been fancying for a while creating a video podcast. I've been without a knitting group now for nearly 3 years. I lived in Gloucester 3 years ago, and I had a very good social group of knitters. I used to teach at Mijou Walls, which is the knitting shop in Gloucester, and I used to regularly attend knitting classes there, as well as the knit and natter social side of things. There was also another group in Gloucester called the Guildhall Knitters, which met every other Tuesday, and that used to be a completely different group of people, but a really nice sort of mix. So I used to have a lot of people to sort of talk about knitting with, talk about yarn with, and get sort of obsessed with. I've not been able to find anything like that since I moved down here to Wales. I live in South Wales at the moment, in Newport, and recently I've been watching a lot of video podcasts in order to try and sort of get that sense of community back. And it's really helped. It feels like I'm sort of knitting and nattering while I'm knitting along and watching these video podcasts. It's really, really good. So I thought, well, why not throw my hat in the ring? I've been blogging my own progress for a couple of years now. Couldn't tell you if I had that many readers. I don't get hardly any sort of comments on it at all, but it's more for my sort of records, and so I might end up being the only person who ever watches these again, but it's a way of keeping track of what I'm doing, how I feel about things, that's often easier to say than it is to write sometimes. So I am a knitter. Primarily, I do a lot of knitting. I started knitting back in, I think, probably 2007. A friend of mine at Rangers, which is sort of the oldest section of girl guiding, before you get into the adult, obviously leaders, Trevor Guild, that sort of thing. She picked up knitting again, and I decided that I wanted to join. I used to knit a little bit when I was little. My gran used to taught me how to knit to start off with. So I was about 17 then, and I picked it up, and I never looked back. I really love knitting. I'm 25 now, so I've been knitting for quite a few years really, and I love it. It's brilliant. I also spin. I bought my spinning wheel in 2010, and I have an Ashford Traveller. Haven't used it too much. Starting to really get back into it. I started crocheting probably about 5 years ago. I picked it up really quickly, love it as well. I used to teach crochet lessons back when I lived in Gloucester, and it's fantastic. I really love that part of things. I really love helping people who struggled with things to learn a new skill. Some of them who've never picked up a hook before or a ball of wool, and other people who'd been knitters for a long time but never managed to master the crochet side of things. So I'm going to go straight into my first section, which I'm calling Are You Still Working on That? Basically, this is going to be my works in progress section. So, right, off we go. I apologise for the light. It's a bit of a dreary grey day here in Newport. So my first thing I'm working on is a long-term project. It is a blanket, and it's going to be made up of zoom loom squares. For those of you who don't know, a zoom loom is a pin loom. They were very big in the 80s apparently, but they've recently re-released them with shaft. I'll pop a link in the description, in the show notes, of my zoom loom, but they're very common. So you can see, this is a sort of a zoom loom square. I had to pick the darkest one, didn't I? Let's see if I've got a light one here. There we go, that's better. Sort of the oranges. Basically, you warp this little 4-inch square loom. Covering my face as well. Cover this little 4-inch square loom with yarn, and then you weave in and out and in and out. They're really quick. They take about sort of 15 to 20 minutes to do, and they don't take a lot of yarn. I think it's possibly between 8 and 9 yards. I have mine with SOP yarn held double, so mine is obviously always double the amount of yarn that it says on the thing. They're ideally best suited for sort of double knitting weight yarns and above, in order to create a square that doesn't need the that doesn't need to be held doubled. This one here is with a 4-ply, and that's with a 4-ply held singularly. I didn't have enough to make a square with it held double. So as you can see, I put this one up next to it. A little bit smaller. It'll all work out. It'll all work out, I'm sure, when I come to seaming it. I am going to put a crocheted edging around these and then do a join as you go to crochet them together. So I'm hoping that maybe I might just do sort of an extra round on these ones. I'm doing these out of sock yarn scraps. I knit a lot of socks. I make approximately 12 pairs a year. I've been doing the year of socks on a group I go on. So yeah, I'm up to date with those. So I've got quite a few scraps to still go through. These ones here, which I wanted to sort of specifically show you today, are out of minis that somebody sent me, which is really, really nice. This one here, which isn't showing up, is sort of really dark, sort of heathery blues, which is lovely. And a bit of green and a bit of black in there as well, really. This one is sort of blues and browns. And then, yeah, as I say, this one was from a pair of orange socks I did. This was, I think it was a little sock yarn, possibly. So anyway, so that's on the go. I have got to make 480 squares. I've got 55 done at the moment. So it's going to be a long journey in order to make this blanket. But at the moment, I'm trying to knock out 12 squares a month. So I think it'd be 2017 I worked out that I'd have enough by. So it might be a while. But it's fun. At the moment, I'm still enjoying it. I'm not burning myself out on it, which I've done before on a lot of big blanket projects. So next on my list is a ripple blanket that I'm doing for my niece, who's called Annalise. Annalise, my niece. Works quite well, doesn't it? She is going to be 1 in February. I crocheted her brother a blanket using these same yarns for his first birthday, which was a couple of years ago now. And the blankets had sort of really regular use, which is brilliant. So I thought, well, I'll just do the same. I wanted it to be similar, but different. The blanket for my nephew, for Morgan, was a modular blanket. It was circles within squares, and it was crocheted. So I thought, well, how can I do something similar but not identical? So I ended up choosing the same yarn, but a completely different pattern. This is the blanket. I made my starting chain, which I couldn't tell you how long my starting chain is. I made it quite long. I chained and I thought, I did my maths. I chained, I did my maths. I thought, no way that looks long enough. So I added more on, and then it became too big. I'm thinking that rather than using it sort of having the ripples run this way, having them run sideways, I thought if I have it so that they run vertically, not horizontally, if they run vertically, then I can just do as many rows to create the width that I sort of need. So the yarn for this one is DMC Natura cotton, just cotton. It is 100% cotton, as the name implies, and the colours are, going from this side, this is coral, which it looks a bit red on this screen, but it is a coral pink. The yellow is called tournesol. Coral is number 18. Tournesol, the yellow, is number 16. The blue is aquamarina, which is colour number 25. I have the blue in Morgan's blanket as well, which also helps to tie them in, and I have the yellow as well. The red, it's a very deep sort of a burgundy colour, is called a bougon. My French accent is abysmal. Bougon, which is colour number 34, and then the grey is sable, which is colour number 3. I really like this yarn. I really do. It's a tiny bit splitty. I'm working this up on a 3mm hook at the moment. And you do have to sometimes watch to make sure that you're not splitting the yarn. As you can see here, this is an end that I haven't yet woven in. The plies have separated off. So you've got to just be a bit careful, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst yarn in the world I've ever crocheted with. It'd be interesting to see. They do a chunky now in this cotton, so it'd be interesting to see how that crochets up. I haven't yet splurged on some of that. It's a good price. It's not as cheap as, say, the Drops cotton, which I've also tried and liked, but I wanted the symmetry with Morgan's blanket, so I went for this one. I have got this width. Well, by the time I finish this last stripe here, is one ball. So I've got 3 more to go, I think, after this one. So it's probably going to end up fairly wide. But I'd rather, even though she is a baby, and, you know, at 1 she still will be sort of very, you know, little babies, toddlers still are, I wanted a blanket that would grow with them. Morgan is 3 now, and because his blanket was large, his blanket gets used on a pretty much a daily basis. It's cotton, which was a big factor in my thoughts, really, was cotton, because that way you can use it as a picnic blanket, you can have it anywhere, and it can just go in the washing machine, in the tumble dryer, and be ready again by bedtime. So I wanted to create something that's going to sort of, not outlast them, but something that's going to last them for a long time. And then even when they're sort of teenagers, or even as adults, it can become sort of a lap blanket sized sort of a thing. So that's that crochet. It's very heavy on the crochet today. I have got a couple of knitting ones on the go, but because this is my first podcast, I thought I would try and keep it relatively short. And this is my second attempt at recording. My last attempt at recording, I hadn't worked out how to flip the camera, so all of the labels and things I was showing people were reversed. So last time I went over an hour, so I'm hoping to make it a little bit shorter than that. My last project is also crocheted. It is a dragon for my nephew. It's his 3rd birthday at the end of next month, at the end of August. So this pattern is Smaug, the African Flower Dragon by Heidi Bears. It is modular again. They are all made up of African flower motifs. So you get a big long list at the start of what it involves. I have got with me some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 septigons. Both of the ones I picked up are septigons. But look at that, ends all woven in and everything. Yeah, so you create motifs in different sizes. So some of them are pentagons, which only have 5 petals round. I think the biggest one in this is an octagon, which obviously has 8. You crochet the motifs, and then instructions are given to create the outer motif, and then you join as you go. So there are a lot of motifs in this. There are a lot. I've just finished the ones for the body. I've got a few more ends to weave in, and then I'm nearly done. Apart from obviously the connecting all of them together, but that's more fun because that's a bit like a 3D puzzle. Before, I literally come just off the back of finishing one of these dragons, so this is my 2nd one in a row, which definitely adds to my aggravation with this. Yeah, because I normally make the motifs as I go. So it says make a pentagon it says take a pentagon and attach it to this other pentagon. So I normally make my pentagon all the way around, and then make my other pentagon and attach it all in one go. This time I'm making my motifs separately. The reason why I did this was because I was at my mum and dad's in the start of July when I started this, and they do have internet there, but it's not very fast, so I don't bother taking my laptop. My other half borrows my laptop in order to play his computer games, so I don't get much time on my laptop. I'm quite happy to sit there and crochet and knit and watch the telly. That's fine, that works for me. And spin this year because it was Tour de Fleece, so I spun quite a bit. But yeah, so I feel definitely feel at the end of the repetitiveness in this pattern. When you do it the way I normally do, which is completing doing the final round as I go and making the shape of the dragon, you might say make a pentagon, then attach it to a heptagon, then attach a septagon, and or attach it. You get to make different motifs in a row. Whereas with this, I've just gone through. Okay, I need 39 or 38 or whatever it was pentagons. Right, boom, 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 dead. And the only other thing to hate about this is weaving in ends. There must be, I think there's 70 something motifs for the body. Now, you do the centre. Try and do this so I'm not blocking my face. You do the centre and those first motifs. They're one colour. That's fine. Okay, so you've got two ends there. Then you do the petals, which I've done in green. That's two ends there. And then you do the outer round, and I've gone back to the white for this one. So that's another two ends. So each motif has 6 ends. Times that by 70. That's a lot of weaving in ends to do. So anyway, I've run ahead of myself because I wanted to tell you about the colours I'm using on this. Because we're in Wales, we live in Wales, we live in Newport, which is in South Wales. I'm doing it in the Welsh colours. I could have done it all in red, but I wanted to sort of get a little bit of variety on it. So the centre, the white, I'm using Starcraft, and I'm using it in a DK, which is heavier than the yarn she recommends. She recommends using 4-ply scraps, or 4-ply yarn. Because Morgan is little, and because they look amazing when they're done in heavier yarns, and are bigger and more cuddly, I decided to do it in a DK. I'm using a 3mm hook though, which gives me a nice tight tension. Same hook actually as I'm using for the ripple blanket. So when I want to work on one and not on the other, I have to remember to take my hook out. The cream, it is cream, it is slightly off-white, is Starcraft Special DK, colour number 1005 in cream, and the green is 1065 in meadow. Now the outer rounds, the rounds that join them all together, I'm going to do in red, because you've got the red for the dragon, you've got the green for the grass, and the white for the background. I couldn't find a red I liked in Starcraft Special. Red in Starcraft Special is called Lipstick, which is incredibly red. Very, very red, in bright canary red. And the dragon is a slightly darker shade of red. So I went for this one, which is Starcraft Life DK. Life still contains, the difference between the Special and the Life is that Life contains 75% premium acrylic and 25% wool. It's not a huge deal. I have mixed and matched them before. The Special is 100% acrylic. The colour for this one is 2306 in Cardinal, and I think I might need more than this one. There was only one left on the shelf when I bought it in Boys, and I didn't manage to get to another Boys, which is it's a chain store up north. They don't get it down here. It makes me really sad because Boys for acrylic is great. Then we have Shaw's the Drapers, which is probably which isn't really the equivalent of Boys, but it's equivalent to Boys' upstairs section. So I might pop into Shaw's and see if they've got any more, or if not, I might have to put in an online order, or maybe talk very nicely to the ladies at my workshop and see if they'll post me some, because I'm not going to be up there until after this needs to be given as a gift. I don't have any more of this Cardinal in my stash. I have a good stash of Starcraft, but I don't think I have any more of this Cardinal. Maybe next 2 weeks, in 2 weeks' time, when I record again, if I record again, maybe I'll be crying down the internet to you, saying, I wish I'd bought another one. Why didn't I find another one? It's his birthday next week and I'm out of yarn. So that's that. As I'm really hoping his birthday is the end of August, so I really need to get a wiggle on. I've got the motifs all made. I just need to finish weaving in those ends and then start the actual construction. The wings of the pattern I haven't made. I've made all of the motifs for the body. The wings I want to make in the red. So in order to save me weaving in ends, in order to give me sort of half the ends, I'm going to just crochet them as I go. The pattern will tell me, obviously start with a pentagon, I'll crochet a pentagon. Join this to a hexagon, I'll crochet a hexagon and join it. And then I'll only have 2 ends per motif, rather than if I made them all in the red and then joined them, rather than the 4. Plus this way, I'm thinking if I get all of the body done first, then by the time I get to the wings, if I have to use a slightly different shade for the wings, it's not going to matter too much. The horns and the spikes down his back, I'm going to use a yellow. Did I pick up the yellow? Yes, I did. There we go. That's coming out very, very neon, isn't it? It's not quite that neon. Sunshine, I think, is the colour. It's left over from when I did. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, that's slightly better. So if I put it next to the red. See, it's bringing the red up as really dark and the yellow is really bright. Sunshine, I think it's called. And this is left over from when I did a Doctor Who scarf for his auntie and his granddad. So it's a really nice sort of a tie-in there, isn't it? The family out of one ball of Starcraft DK. So that is not all of what I've got on the needles, but a selection of what I've got on the needles. I didn't want to overwhelm the very first episode and create a sort of an hour long of Hannah is still, why is Hannah still working on that? As I say, next time round I've got some really interesting things to talk about that I hopefully will have done more of, including a dress. I'm knitting a dress. Or at least I kind of started knitting a dress. I'm not sure how much further I'll get. I need to rip it out and start again. So, my next segment I'm moving on to, I'm calling FO Frenzy. Finished Object Frenzy. This isn't much of a frenzy because I only have one object to show you this week. But it is a smasher. It is a very, very good one. This is my Whippoorwill. Yeah, come on, lighting. Hee hee, rainbow. So this is. Lean back to try and get it all. Get it all in the shot. I'm looking at you through the knitting. So this is my Whippoorwill. It's a pattern by Karina Spencer. It is very famous in the UK for the one that the lady from Craft at the Coach's mum wore on the knitting bee, the sewing bee. I don't call it the knitting bee, the sewing bee. I nearly called it the bake-off the other day to somebody. But she did hers in Kauni Effect Garn. I chose to do mine in... Might help if I showed you the right side of it, not the wrong side of it. That's better. Isn't that better? Look at the colours. They're so much better on the right side than on the wrong side. This is knitted. This is absolutely gigantic. And possibly not the most flattering way to wear this. I'm still quite new to wearing shawls. This is... Move you down a little bit. There we go. This is knitted in Mini Mochi, Crystal Palace's yarn. It's very, very soft, which obviously it should be. It's definitely merino. I think it's possibly a merino silk blend. And it is very nice. I do like it. I get the impression that it's going to pill something crazy. It's very soft already. And there are some little tiny bits of fluff even just after this first wash and block. The colourway is Intense Rainbow, colourway number 101, and I needed 168 grams. So I bought 3 balls when I first purchased it. 2014, April 2014, I looked for yarn for this at Wonderwall. I couldn't find any that I wanted. I knew I wanted the rainbow. I really wanted, well, I did debate having the yarn that she'd made hers in, the effect yarn. I couldn't find any, but I knew I did at some point want to try mini mochi. So I thought, well, I'll look for it for that. I bought 3. I got about possibly about 6 rows from the end, and then I ran out of yarn, so I needed another one. But I did use quite a bit of that third ball, which is 168. So I used well, I only used about 18 grams of that last ball, but that's fine. I've got quite a bit left over then for something else. I love this. It is huge. I have got some reasonable modelled photos on my Ravelry page at Crafty Little Rat. I love the way it's sort of striped. It's a bit more sort of, the stripes are a tiny bit more subtle in real life. They're really picked up by the camera here. But yeah, I love it. I would happily knit another one. It took forever by the end rows. But yeah, I do really like it. I'm thinking next time maybe it would be a great pattern to use a variegated or a striping one for the main body of the shawl, down to where the increases, decreases, the feather and fan style pattern starts, and then use a solid for that. That would be quite a striking sort of shawl, I think. I'm really into that effect. I love my self stripings, but then I like shawls with sort of lace edging, so you can combine the two if you do that. It works really, really well. Hopefully a couple of projects in the future are going to be using that sort of an idea, because when I've been finding last year at Wonderwall, a lot of the variegated yarns spoke to me, as they seem to do, and then I'm not a huge fan of them when they're knit up, and you can't knit them into later patterns because the patterns get lost. So every time I've sort of found one that I couldn't leave behind, which is normally on the Easy Knit store, I've been able to pair it with a solid. I picked out one of the colours in the variegation and paired it. Normally not a very common colour. So say it's purple with flecks of grey and blue. I'd either go for the grey or for the blue. Now, I'm not quite sure how it will work out, given that I haven't yet knit one of these shawls. I'm like a lot of crafters, I suppose. I have a great big long craft bucket list. I have a very large queue on Ravelry, and I don't get round to making things on them very often. A lot of things that I see that I like, if I can cast it on immediately, I go, oh yes, and leap into it. If I'm being good, like I'm trying to be now, and finish things first, things often get put into the queue and then forgotten about for newer projects. So I'm really hoping that I'm trying to be a bit strict with my list of what I need to make. So my next segment I'm calling In a Spin. It's going to be all of my spinning stuff. Now, you've probably seen a lot of spinning lately, because there's an annual event called Tour de Fleece. Tour de Fleece runs alongside the Tour de France, and the idea is that you spin on every day that the riders ride. This was my first year actually competing in Tour de Fleece, and I use competing within the loosest phrase. I go away every year for my birthday. It's at the start of July, and we go back up to my parents in Lincolnshire. So while it's great, I've never bothered to take my spinning wheel before. I've always felt that was maybe too much of an imposition. I don't know. Anyway, this year I asked Mum and Dad whether I could bring it back, and they said, oh, of course you can. That's no sort of a problem. I've got no idea why I felt that bringing home my spinning wheel was going to be a huge imposition. I mean, my other half comes with me, and he's always welcome. I took home my game system. I've got a Wii U. I took that home with me and played on that. And I took my hamster home. And my hamsters have been coming home with me for several years while we've had them. A spinning wheel, not too much of an imposition. So in she came, in the car, packed and brilliant, and I got quite a bit of spinning sort of done while I was there. I'm going to show you my work in progress to start off with. I've spun one bobbin, so I'm half done. And this is the first bobbin. It is New Zealand Corriedale. There wasn't a colourway on it, it was just brights. It was my very first year at Wonderwall, and it was marketed as ideal for spinners or needle felters. That was literally all that was on it, and brights was the thing. It's New Zealand Corriedale. Where I left my end. Somewhere. There we go. I spun it reasonably thin on my second largest whirl on my spinning wheel. I had 3, so it's reasonably fine. And when I saw it, I knew that there was only 85 grams maximum in this. I didn't want to spin it and then chain ply it with itself, though that would preserve the colours lovely. I just didn't fancy it. I wanted to get the most sort of yardage that I could out of it. So I thought, what can I do? So I decided, I looked through my stash of fibres, some of which I've had since I started, and I decided to spin this to go with it. Now this is a very, very bad picture because it's black. It's Black Welsh Mountain, which is a Welsh breed of sheep. But I'm not loving it. It'd be fine once it's plied together with the other one, but it's not been a particularly enjoyable spin. Can you see it's thick and thin? My consistency is all over the shop with this because the fibre hasn't been prepped particularly well. I think I maybe left it off. Anyway, as you sort of go through, there is the fibre. You pull it apart. It's quite dusty. The fibre is quite dusty. It's meant to be prepped fibre. It's dusty. There's a lot of sand still in the fleece. There's a lot of Kemp, which is the sort of the white hairs. They're not any good. I mean, they're not great for dyeing. I just picked that one off the bobbin. I got to the stage where I'm not even going to bother removing them. Some of them are twisted into the yarn now. They'll stay there. A lot of the fleece is good, and it has the nice long staple length. That's how long the individual fibres are. But then you get a bit which feels like a second cut. The fibres are possibly about that long, and it feels like where the bloke's just been over it again with the shears, and that's got included in and bundled in with the fleece. This was from Wingham Woolworks, which is where I bought my wheel from. All of their other fibres that I've spun, and I spun quite a few because I got a gift voucher when I bought my wheel. £25, I think it was, and as I was going home on the train, I asked them to just choose me whatever. We'd already been there a couple of hours at this point. My mum and dad, who are not spinners, definitely my dad is, they're crafty, but within their own way. Mum sewing, my dad would work every so often. They were done. They wanted to go. That was fine. We were a couple of hours away from home. They had to drop me off at the train station to go back to Gloucester. And yeah, they were just done. So we said, well, look, rather than me go round the gigantic sheds and pick, just pick me a selection of non-coloured, natural fleeces, natural sheep, prepared fleeces, prepared top, obviously. And I can spin it, I can see what I like. Still haven't got through the pile yet. So, so that was from them. And everything else I've spun has been brilliantly prepared. Maybe I just don't like Black Welsh. An infinite possibility. Maybe this wasn't the Black Welsh. Maybe Black Welsh has come on in the years since I've got it. Because, I mean, let's face it, this fibre has probably been sat there since 2010. At the very least. maybe 2011. It's been sat a while. Not that that's affected it, but maybe, obviously with rare breeds, which the Black Welsh is, so it's not a very common one. Maybe the quality's improved, but yeah, bit of a thumbs down from me. I've got about 30 to 40 grams of it left to spin. I will finish spinning it. I will ply it together with the corrugator. And then I might be inclined to try some, maybe from a different provider at some point. But for now, there's so much I haven't spun that I really want to have sort of a go with other things. So I'm hopeful that by the next time I speak to you, that will be my finished object. I'm hoping that I haven't burnt out from tour de fleece. I spun nearly every day apart from the last day. So I'm pretty good. I've done a lot more than I expected to do, especially with working full time as well on top of that, and being on holiday for the 2 weeks at the start, the week at the start even, didn't really help because we were out and about and doing things rather than just sort of sat at home spinning. But I did manage to finish one thing. Ta-da! This is my first finish from the tour. It's really hard to shoot on grey days. I have tried to adjust the contrast on the webcam. Possibly not too much. I mean, this is Cappuccino Alpaca Merino. So it's a blend of the two of them. I spun fairly finely. I spun on my smallest whirl. So it is very, very fine. Just get a strand over my thumb. It's a little bit thick and thin, but it's relatively even within its consistency. Come on, focus. There we go. Just need to take my face out of the shot. You can see there that the two colours are actually blended within the skein. So that's pretty cool. I just spun this as a cane. It's a 2-ply. So for those of you who aren't spinners, that's when you spin from fluff onto a bobbin. Oh, this pose looks so flattering. When you spin from fluff onto a bobbin, you create a single. This is a single at the moment. There's just one strand, and if I pull it apart like I did then, it comes apart and goes back to being the fluff, like what comes off a sheep. In order to make it stronger, you spin two of those and then you ply them together. You twist them together in the opposite direction. I generally spin my wheel clockwise to start off with, and then counterclockwise to ply them together. I put quite a bit of plying twist into this. I wanted to do, my last plying effort before this was a little bit, my skeins always fall apart. I am not a very good skein maker. My last effort before this was a little bit loose on the ply, so I wasn't very happy with it, so I sort of overcompensated this time. It's not overplied, it was very balanced. Actually, fresh off the wheel, it was incredibly balanced. I didn't need to weight it at all, which was useful because I was at my mum's, and there's nothing weirder than coming home to finding your daughter washing, you find a skein of yarn looped over above your sink with a bottle of detergent on it, holding it down. So yeah, but I like it. It is, I've probably said this already, I got 468 metres out of it. I don't trust my wraps per inch, but by judging it, I think it's heavy lace. Possibly 3-ply. I don't think it's as heavy as 4-ply, though it could be in parts because it's thick and thin. Shawl, probably. They nearly all end up being shawls. Or just end up sitting and chilling in my stash for a while. So that's it for In a Spin. My next segment I am going to call Shiny. So this is things I've bought, things I've been given, things I just think are pretty cool. So I'm going to start off with, I had birthday money this month, so it was really nice actually. I got very, very spoiled. I bought a new cage for the hamster out of a lot of my money. We went to IKEA and we bought, there's an IKEA shelving unit, the glass shelving unit. And when you make that, but don't put the shelves in and don't put the lid on and lay it flat on its back, it creates a huge tank. Awesome. She loves it. She's very spoiled, but that took a lot of my birthday money. But I did have a little bit left over, so I treated myself to some bits. The first one was from a good yarn, which is in Cleethorpes, which is near to where my mum and dad live. It's great there because it's so near the cinema. So I can convince my other half to go to an Orange Wednesdays at the cinema, and I get to go to the wool shop before we go. So I bought Juniper Moon Farm Findley, which is 50% merino wool, 50% silk. Again, it's making this a little bit red. I wonder if I can flip it over. It's sort of, it's a burnt copper colourway. The colourway is, of course, called rusty copper. Copper, rusty copper. This is colourway 28. And then to go with it, I bought this one, which it's bringing up as a bit darker than it is. It's sort of not a navy blue, but a teal blue. Put the two together. That's how I'm planning on making it. So the light has changed as I've started recording this. It's gone a lot darker, so the camera's trying to compensate. So yeah, because that looks like red and blue, doesn't it? But it's not. That's copper. Yeah, that's a rusty copper, and that is sort of a tealy, deep tealy blue. So those two together, cardigan. It's going to be a cardigan, lace cardigan, striped cardigan for me, I think, for the winter. I work in an office, so it's normally either boiling or freezing or in between. So just something I can just sort of shrug on and shrug off, and it's not going to sort of overheat me, but it's going to keep the chill off my sort of my shoulders. That being said, there is. They recommend US 2 or 2.75mm needles. There is 978 yards or 730 metres, and they're 100 grams each. So there's quite a sort of there's a lot of real estate on there. I can probably make myself a cardigan, a full sleeved cardigan, which I'd rather do and then roll the sleeves up than have a three-quarter. She says in a three-quarter top. But you know, it's the exception to the rule. I like my top, by the way. It's what I've had for ages, but I've only just sort of been thin enough to fit into it for the last couple of months. But it's got on little ears, like a proper panda. I would have no return viewers, would I, if I wore that for the entire show. My next purchase was some sock yarn. I love the socks. And this one I thought was quite interesting because it's bamboo superwash. So it's completely and utterly. See, again, the light is weird, but it's Rico Superba Bamboo Superwash. The colourway is a very imaginative 10, but it's blues and greens and yellows. The makeup of this, I did check on Ravelry because although it says bamboo on the label, it doesn't say bamboo directly on the makeup. So it's 50% virgin wool, 25% polyamide, and then 25% viscose. So one of those must be the thing, the bamboo. Ravelry lists 50% wool, 25 bamboo, 25 nylon. So it's the same makeup. It just doesn't list them as bamboo. Polyamide might be bamboo, possibly. Viscose is nylon. So yeah, so that's lovely. That's going to become a pair of socks for me, I think. My dad has got some bamboo walking socks that he really loves. He's heavily debating those being for him, but it's 4-ply, so it's a little bit thin for walking socks. But I did also buy, when I had to order that extra skein for my whippoorwill from Purple Linda, she had a big discount on some of the Regia. Buy box. Some of the Regia yarns. There we go. I wouldn't be able to show you my other pretties if I I knocked the box over. She had a big discount on some of the Regia Stripe Mania colour 6-ply. And 6-ply being double knitting weight, I thought, oh, Dad, walking socks, potentially. I mean, it says on here there is a there is on the thing, there is a rainbow. There is a rainbow one, but I don't think that's the colourway, because it does say underneath it, Farb und Effektebildung nicht verblincht colour sample. So maybe that's like Farb is colour. I'm assuming that next one is effect. Colour and effect is not representative colour sample, maybe. So it could be a different colourway on the thing. I like Regia. I really, really do. I have to try and stop myself pronouncing it Regia. But because I don't know what's right. But I've heard other people call it Regia, so I've no idea. I like this brand. I've knitted quite a few socks out of it in the past. I'm not sure whether the colours are too bright to be my dad's, but the price was right. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for it. I think it was maybe sort of £6, when I think they're normally sort of 11 or 12, or maybe even 15 for this. The last couple of times I've looked in Chinese. Colours might not be my dad though, so if not, my other half likes thick socks, so I might make him a pair out of it. So I've noticed all my hair's caught up in my thing. There we go. So yeah, so I really like that. The colourway on this one is 06366. So inventive. But yeah, there's greens and yellows and browns. So my last thing was actually a present. It is the only yarn I received for my birthday, and was gifted to me by my wonderful friend Angie. I've known Angie for quite a few years from the Guildhall Knitters group in Gloucester. And since I moved down, I've unfortunately not been able to attend at all in 3 years, which is sad because it's Tuesday night, and what do you do on a Wednesday? On a Wednesday you go to work, so it's a long way to travel back just for an hour to go and see some, to travel an hour to go and see some people, even if it is for like 7 till 9, so a good couple of hours knitting. But Angie has very graciously invited me the first year back to her house, to stay at her house and then go to Wonderwall with her. Because we'd done that one year when I lived in Gloucester, and it was really nice of her, and we've stayed in touch through that, and yeah, she's brilliant. I love her. I really do, and it's not just for the wool that she gives me as presents. I'm really excited about going to go see her in February. I'm really excited about seeing her at Bristol Wool Fair, which I think is September. So I can't wait. It's her birthday coming up as well soon, so I'm going to order her birthday present as well. So what she got me was a yarn I've actually had my eye on for a while. Anybody who watches the Bakery Bear podcast will have heard them going on about this yarn, because it is the infamous West Yorkshire Spinners. Now this is the signature 4-ply, and the colourway is owls. I love owls. Nearly everything I own has owls on it. I'm very big into my animals. I did an animal behavioural welfare degree before I joined the civil service and completely and utterly relegated my previous life for money, for having an income. But yeah, this is a Country Birds signature 4-ply, and the colourway is owl. So it's lovely. It is a 75% wool, 25% nylon mix, which is a standard sort of sock yarn mix. But not only did she send me that, West Yorkshire Spinners do a very clever thing where they pick out one of the colours from the yarn and make a coordinating, opposite of what I meant. They make a coordinating colour. So this is a coordinating colour for owls, which is called poppy seed. How beautiful are those two together? And the aim is that you knit your socks. You can knit your cuff, your heels and your toes in this, and then the main body and the foot of your sock in there. But I don't want to wear it on my feet. I love them so much. I'm not normally a brown around the face sort of a person, and I don't care really whether it suits me or not. I really want to have these two together in the shawl. So I have looked online and I picked out the Caledonia shawl by Kirsten Kapoor, and I'm thinking I'm fighting the urge to cast this on right now as we speak. I'm also resisting the urge to cast on a jumper for Bristol. So I'm trying very, very hard to not. I want to knit Owls by Kate Davies. I've got some wool. I've reclaimed some wool, and I'm debating doing an order with ice yarns just to see what it's like, because the price point on it is incredibly cheap. The one I looked at, I could knit Owls for about £10 and have wool left over. Rather than making a long gauge try and work. But I'm trying to be very, very good and get some of the things that I've got going at the moment off my needles. So that's it for shiny. I am on a bit of a wool diet, she says. Oops. Bye-bye. Something. I'll recover it when I've finished. I'm trying to be on a bit of a wool diet. It's not going very well. In previous months, it's gone sort of fantastically. But recently, it's not gone very well because of all the shiny. But I am hoping to sort of power it down a bit. As I say, I'm going to Bristol, which should be fantastic, but that's not until September. So yeah, I'm trying to save my money for that. Okay, right. So I'm going to sign off here. I hope if you've managed to make it this far, I hope you've enjoyed my witterings on. So this is my very, very first podcast. I'm not a natural talking in front of the camera. I'm not the most prepared person. I'm not the most on the ball person at the moment either. My brain is completely and utterly in a million places at once. Because of my thyroid problem, it gives me, I can forget words. I often stumble over common words. So you'll you'll have to forgive me a little bit. If you have any suggestions, constructive suggestions about what I can do, or any sort of hints or tips, apart from trying to sort out the brightness on the camera and maybe filming in a better daylight, that might help, then please get in touch with me. My email address is craftylittlerat@outlook.co.uk. I'm on Ravelry as Crafty Little Rat. I accept all friends' requests and I friend people back because I love to see what people are doing. I've got a blog on blogspot.co.uk. I will put the link in the description below, and that will link to show notes where everything I've talked about. There'll be a link to either the shop to buy it, or the pattern, or my project, and there'll be a link to my project pages as well. I really hope you've stuck around and enjoy it, and I hope you continue to stick around and enjoy it with me, because it'd be nice to actually have some people to talk to a bit more about knitting and making new friends with knitting and crochet. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.